Oh,
And if we do this and we do it successfully, then we learn how Democrats can grow this party, where it's not about factions and it's not about fighting.
Well, Ian sometimes is a little bit slow at coming on the committee meetings, so we'll give it a couple minutes. But
before the election, that however.
Well, we can get started if you want to, Dave.
Sounds good. Molly, take it away.
sounds good. So today, August 6th, we have the Water Demand Committee. Do the roll call. Do we have to do all this?
Well, I love you trying to take charge of it, but I'm going to call the meeting to order.
Thank you, Chair Alvin.
Thank you. Call the meeting to order. Roll call.
You gonna do this, Molly, or do you want Michael to do
How
it?
I do it?
You may do it.
Go ahead, Mike.
Chair Edwards.
Here.
Mary Ann Gawain.
Here.
Ian Oglesby. No.
He'll probably be joining us a little bit later. But we uncalled to order the Water Demand Committee meeting for Thursday, August the 6th, 2026. And I think it's about 1:32. Okay, and we had roll call. Any additions and corrections to the agenda?
From me.
None? Okay. Public comment. Do we have any public out there? You have 3 minutes to make a comment. Anything on the agenda?
Yeah, we do have 2 members of the public, but no hands are raised.
Okay. And we have 1 action item. The action item is the minutes from the last meeting.
There are no changes to the minutes. So we'll accept a motion.
So moved.
Okay, and I'll second it. Any public comments on the motion?
Chair Edwards, I see no hands raised.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all those in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passed. Do we have to do a roll call on this one, Mr. Laredo?
Roll call should be done, but it's just the 2 of you, so we know who has voted. The motion passes 2-0 with Chair Edward. With the mayor absent.
Okay. All right. General Manager, we in discussion items.
Yeah, I keep trying to hand this all off, but all right. This one, Molly, is yours. Item 2, update on Summer Splash.
Great. So we had a great Summer Splash challenge this year. Every year has gotten better. This year is about 12% increase participation over last year. We added a section of how did you hear about us this year about halfway through the challenge, so we could see how people heard about us and how best to get communication out there for next year. And it looks like most of the participation came from our MPWMD emails and CalAM emails. However, we did do a Facebook boost, which gave us about a 15% participation rate, which is very good because that's about the same as the ads we had in the County Weekly and the Pinecone. So that was a little bit interesting. Little stat right there. We also collaborated with Monterey Bay Parent which is a local newsletter that goes out weekly, sometimes more, to all of the parents. Gets distributed in schools. So that was a fun endeavor that we did as part of the social media funding. Winners will be announced early September, and collaborating with CalAm to get the prizes and potentially any update we're going to do to the public. But here are our winners. Congratulations. You win a dishwasher, you win a washing machine. But we're just waiting for the mail-in participation to come through before we announce any of those.
And Molly, correct me if I missed it. Participation was up about what, 10%, 12% over last year? 12%.
Yeah, from last year.
Yep.
Every year is an increase. So
yeah, very nice.
Very nice. Well worth it.
Okay. I'd like to interject that the mayor has joined us. So Mayor Oglesby is in the meeting. Okay. Any questions from committee members on Summer Splash? Any questions? Okay. Is this going to be ready for a report come our next meeting?
To the board? Yep.
Yep.
Okay. We're not going to put it on consent. It's going to be one item left out there.
Yeah, we'll have a verbal report. Molly will give it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Let folks know how we doing. Okay. Any public comment on this item?
I see no hands raised.
All right. What's the next item there, Jim?
Well, this one is for discussion, but should you decide to provide general direction in an alternative to this letter, then it'll come back for action. But you may recall the letter that was received from the city of Carmel, which I think is a little symptomatic of a couple of things we're hearing, even also from the county. And I understand the angst that they're feeling, but it's a little, in my opinion, unfounded. So because entities such as the city of Carmel have created, buckets or categories for prioritizing the use of their water for water release, as they begin to look at proposed developments and their own housing elements, there's some concern that, oh gosh, do we have enough water to do everything we intend to do over time? And we've been trying really since March of last year, trying to soothe them and say, look, we have more water. We've only allocated about a third of what we anticipate your needs to be, and we're there for you. But I think that a couple of entities have looked at their 1/3 allocation and then their housing plans, and they say, oh gosh, I don't know, do we have enough? And so this is the first formal request for some elaboration on, do we really have a plan? Do we really have a policy? And when we brought all the city managers and planners together in September of 2024, we walked them through the whole process, and we walked them through how we would revisit allocations and what it would take. I think some of that memory was not passed on to their respective city councils, even though we presented to every city council and to the Board of Supervisors. And so here we are, really almost 2 years later, and they're looking for additional reassurance. What I've proposed is a letter that is not a formal policy, but it's kind of a working set of assumptions, which is, A, we don't care about the buckets, because if we did, that would make us affecting land use decisions. In other words, if they say commercial is now depleted and they say we want more in our commercial bucket, yet they're sitting on a large housing allocation, we're not in the position, nor is our policy, to say, oh yeah, here's more for commercial use. And that was our intent from the beginning. Here is water for your use in your bank account. Second parameter is that there is a disconnect between when water is released and when permits get issued. And so if they actually have approved a project and released water, the jurisdiction is beginning to feel like, oh, that water is gone. We don't deem it to be gone until somebody comes in for a permit based on that amount of water that's been released. So I think that as they get closer to releasing what the letter points out, about 8% of their bank account, their allocation, and we haven't seen anybody come in, then we need to have a discussion about what's really going on. But if we begin to see, you know, let's say they've released 80%, we've seen 50% of the water come through for permits, then I think we perceive that, yeah, they're beginning to edge up close to their limit, and we should have a discussion. The original intent of our allocation policy was to see who's really serious about housing and job creation through release of water for growth. And so we always expected all along that one jurisdiction, maybe even two at the same time, would come in and say, hey, we're out, we need more water. We don't want to just respond to the one actor. We want to respond to all again and say, okay, where does everyone stand in their allocation? Here's our view of it. Here's what's come through our office. Is it time to do a new, you know, round 2, then round 3, possibly round 4 and 5? And that's kind of how we wanted to leave it. I think what the city of Carmel was doing in this instance was trying to get us to write firm rules on paper. And I don't think we really want to do that, or it's in the district's interest to do so. We have great lines of communication with all the planners. You know, obviously Molly's now building those, Mike's building those as well, with the retirement of Stephanie. And I think our door's always open. So I'm proposing this letter as an answer, but if this committee wants to recommend a more formal policy, then we can develop that and bring that back to the board.
Okay, committee members? Questions, comments?
Yeah, I had two things. I don't disagree too much with that, but I do know that as cities, you know, as we, you know, allocate that water, it takes particularly little larger developers, you know, quite a bit of time to actually go out and get their permit.
Yeah.
But there's nothing to work on if they don't have water allocated from the cities. So, you know, I'm just trying to wrap my mind around about, you know, 80%, 50%, but sometimes you have to give out that water, and then it does take a time for the homeowner or the, multifamily developer to be in a position to get a permit, but they're not going to start working to build anything if they don't have the water from the start. So the water kind of like is the first vital thing, you know, after they make a commitment. So I agree. We don't want to help somebody water bank, so to speak, and we don't want to start getting about what bucket is in. But I do think it has to be somewhere around understanding that developers, homeowners will have to hold on to that water for quite a bit.
No, the mayor, you're absolutely right. You may be curious, or I see Andy's participating as a spectator. The county actually, in their policy, put kind of a preliminary water release as part of it, because it's not just the time, but also sometimes it's the underpinnings for your financing. So a developer is looking for a commitment, almost a will serve letter, if you will. We are sympathetic to that. We want to make sure that the water's there for projects if it's prospective. So I think that's where, as we kind of landed on that 80% number, Carmel only has 14 acre feet, so that's a small number. So the remainder could be quite less than a large scale development were it to come into play. And I think we would view that as an immediate call for a new allocation round, so that cities would have the ability to make a commitment to a developer. But it is interesting the way the county kind of addressed that specific issue with a kind of a pre-release or a will serve or will release letter, which we've thought in the context of taking over Cal-Am, we might not do an allocation like this in the future because we're also then the utility and we have to provide will serve letters. And so we have to confirm that the water's there. So that is probably the largest concern that we've heard from many jurisdictions. How can I ensure a developer that the water is going to be there? But I think we're nimble enough to address that.
Go ahead, Director Mary Ann. Any comments?
Um, I think it's fascinating. I thought the whole letter, the whole discussion was fascinating, and I appreciated. I learned a lot from Dave's letter, so I'm feeling much more up to speed. But just to go back, we've given them the allocation. They may or may not, depending on the particular jurisdiction, like the county has chosen to do buckets, right?
Right.
And then now that they have this water, they issue a water release. They supply the water release form. And that's the basis then that the developer or person can go and get their financing because it's saying there's an intent to give them the water.
Correct.
Is that the right sequence? But of course,
Yep.
they have to come to the water district for the actual permit. Okay. I mean, I just thought it was very interesting, the point that you made that the Bay Area growth estimates didn't jive necessarily with the RENA allocations, which is tricky. And we've kind of tried to split the difference or whatever. So anyway, I learned a lot, and I think I support the issuance of this letter.
Right. I see that Andy does have his hand up.
Okay.
If you're ready for public comment yet?
Yeah, we'll begin taking public comment in a minute, but
Yeah.
process. Mr. Laredo or Dave or Fran, this was a letter to the district. It sort of has been made public now. How can we talk about it at board level, this letter that you just made, to get the rest of the board comments on that? How do we do that?
So if you want to have it as a public discussion, you can certainly agendize it.
Yeah.
Alternatively, you can send this out to each board member and have them provide responses directly back to Dave for him to then incorporate into a final version of the letter. You can't have a discussion amongst the board without it being an agendized item. So if you want to have that as a public discussion, it should be agendized for the board meeting.
Okay, now I would like to see it agendized for the next meeting so that all the board members can see it.
Yeah.
All the cities can be alerted of it, that we're having this discussion. So that was just one of my main questions right there. How do we do this? Because I like to see all the board comment on this one. And it's a good letter. I like it. Maybe they have other board members that may have some changes, and I might think of other changes, but I like the way we're going down the road to this. So that's
Yeah,
one.
sounds good. Yeah, we'll do that.
Um,
Since we have the chair with us, the chair is okay with adding that to the agenda.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I think it's a good idea. I like the work you put behind it, General Manager. So
Great.
yeah, thank you.
yeah, because I like all the cities to hear what we're doing, not just one city. All the cities hear what we're thinking. So
Great.
we can get that. All right, that's all I got on the letter. I'll probably be thinking about some more stuff when we get it agendized for the regular board meeting. Public comment on this item.
I
We'll
have
open it up, Molly.
Andrew Myrick, sorry. Go ahead, Andy.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, great, thank you. Appreciate the chance to provide comment. So I find this letter very concerning. And looking at this information, I think it would actually, if anything, to me, it makes it harder for me to recommend that the city use its water allocations because not only are we not understanding what exactly it is that triggers the additional water allocations, but it's also dependent on what other jurisdictions do. It would be extraordinarily helpful for us to have some sort of formal policy for future allocations because that is what lets us plan. Right now, we know that there may be the ability to get additional water in the future if we use it all up, but that's going to be dependent on whoever's in charge and whoever's on the board at that time. Um, and I'm kind of wondering, and this has kind of been an assumption, and I'm not sure why, but I feel like we're just kind of making the assumption that jurisdictions need to use up all their water before they could be eligible for additional water. Um, and I brought this up last time, but I would actually just propose again that there be some sort of policy or program in place that as the jurisdictions use the water, instead of them having to use all of it, just as they use it, they can get that water replenished back up to the totals that were originally allocated. And that way, the water district doesn't have to worry about the buckets because you guys don't have to worry about what we use the water for, just the fact that we used it. I would definitely suggest that you tie it to the actual water permits and not to like what we may have promised people. I understand that concern about the delays and whatnot. But I would again just say that if this should be talked about among the cities, um, the technical advisory committee is made up of representatives of the cities. If it's possible to have that meet maybe before the full board considers this, I think that would be a really great thing to do. Because that would give us a chance to just kind of go over all of this and kind of present our ideas because we would love to use the water as well. I feel like we're on the same page and have the same goals here, but reading this letter, I'm now less likely to recommend that the council use up its water reserves than I was before I read the letter. So I just feel like we're kind of going in the wrong direction here. So, but appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any more, Molly?
I see no other hands raised.
Okay, back to the committee. To me, it seemed like we're going down that road that we probably would have been going down, talking to the PAC and attack and everybody else, trying to get a policy out of this if we want a policy. But bringing it back to the board for that discussion before we go down that road to PAC and TAC and whatever, and just getting their thoughts. So Dave, what's your concerns about that?
No, I think it opens the door for some lively discussion. I'll repeat what I've repeated many times. I would like to see a city, a jurisdiction, anybody actually build something. There's an awful lot of talk. My Siri's being a little up today. So anyway, I don't think that there's a current scarcity, and that's kind of what we told everybody when we initiated this process. The problem with refilling buckets or allocating all the water is that there are certain jurisdictions who are not going to build things, and it would do a disservice to the community to give water out that isn't going to get utilized for 20 years or 30 years when a different jurisdiction has a plan to actually go build something. So we're focused on the high performers will get the opportunity to get another allocation round started, but nobody's actually started building much of anything yet. And so I think that it's all, right now it's a theoretical discussion about what happens
Well-
next, but what should be happening now hasn't happened yet. So,
We could allocate it all out and then end up having people saying we need more water.
right.
That's one of my concerns. You allocate it all out, and some of the hey, I like to use the project on Broadway, our housing project. It took us 15 to 20 years to get that built, but they had the water. You know, and I don't know if they could have moved that water to someplace else.
Let me check. Once you get a chance, let me jump in, Chair.
Go ahead.
I almost fell out my seat when you said that. When they had water, we didn't have no water.
Yeah, they had to invent water.
Yeah, we had to invent water, and so I understand what you're saying. I understand what the general manager is saying, but to his points about water, we can have as much water as you can, but if Callahan cannot intensify use downtown, then you guys giving me water doesn't help me, right?
Yeah.
So I need to. That's why we're trying to lift the CDO, right? And in not anticipation of that, but you guys did the hard work. The general manager and his team did the hard work of finding this water, and you guys have allocated it out. I agree with that, and I agree with people should be using it because you just don't want to, give all out that you have and just pour it in buckets in the cities. I agree with that. But just to the last point, General Manager, about you haven't seen nothing yet, is because I cannot use it. We're using what little bit we have to open up the little restaurants and stuff, right? And
Completely agree.
We're doing that, but to go up like our general plan says, go up, it's a little bit more strategic moves we need to make, and you're making them by trying to lift that CDO, and that's all I want to chime in for. And I think all the cities are in a similar vein. I do appreciate what Andy said. So as we talk through this as a public comment, then maybe all the cities can weigh back in, and we can look at this a few ways to make sure everybody comes out feeling okay with it.
Great. And before the next board meeting, we'll have Molly distribute the proposed response to the planners. Give them a chance. So.
Okay, and she'll be able to give us comments from
if we get any, whatever we get back, sure.
So everybody can understand what's going on.
I'll put a note. Please have responses by X date.
Okay, because we Carmel opened up the door, so we might as well get this set or what we're going to do and hear from the full board. Okay.
Excellent.
Any more comments on this one item? If not, what's the next item, Jim?
That's the end of it.
Boy, you set a record today. You set a record. Anything else, committee members?
Nope.
What, Mayor? Anything else?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. And,
okay. Any suggestions for future agenda items? If none, we can adjourn the meeting.
Thank you very much. I do believe the next meeting you probably will have draft rules and regs edits, another go around on that. There's away from this committee, there are rules that don't impact the Water Demand Committee that are going to be brought straight to the board. And those will land on the agenda for the next meeting. And they're primarily just cleanup and addressing some antiquated language and so forth. All right, everybody.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks.
Thank you.